You sounded great.
Yeah, right.
What, you telling me you weren't feeling it? You were in it.
We don't need to put them all out.
I know, but we just need to film.
Your hearing is deteriorating rapidly.
We'll come back. Till then, Lou, we just keep going, okay?
No.
Lou,
No.
let's play tomorrow. Let's see what it's like, okay? I'm gonna be like a click track. You can play to me.
You have to understand, your first responsibility is to preserve the hearing you have.
I can't hear you. Do you understand me? I can't. I'm deaf. I'm deaf.
I found a place.
I think it's important that you stay here with us right now, Ruben. We're looking for a solution to this. Not this.
I need you to wait for me, okay? You're it for me, Lou. You're my heart. You're it for me, okay? You gotta wait for me. Trying to save my life.
Ruben, the world does keep moving. It can be a damn cruel place. But those moments of stillness, when this crappy, mundane world suddenly becomes radiant and magnificent, all the fear is gone. That place will never abandon you.
I'm going to watch 30 movies, a movie each day in June. Day 28 of year 8 of movie month, and the podcast will start soon. He's going to watch 30 movies, some good films and some lowbrow. Year 8 of fans, not experts, movie month, and the podcast starts right now. Year 8 of movie month, that much you already know. Year 8 of movie month, and now it's time for the show.
Gone into the rain today. Wet fields of green. But no, I don't stay long. You always find me. You say, come on the train today. You call my name. And you wave and scream, but I can't hear anything. can't hear anything.
Earlier this month, I watched a movie called Nightcrawler, and I thought I was developing a movie crush on Jake Gyllenhaal in that movie. But in a Shyamalan twist, could it have been that my movie crush was on Riz Ahmed the entire time? I mean, yowzer. We're not talking about Nightcrawler, folks. We're talking about today's movie from 2019, even though it got, much more notice in 2020 by Amazon Studios. 2019, Sound of Metal. I'm sure you are aware of this movie in some way. Starring Riz Ahmed, Olivia Cooke, and Paul Raci, and I'm not going to not mention her, Lauren Ridloff. There, I said it right. This movie was everything that I was told, or was expecting, I should say. The performances were golden. I don't even know how else to say it. The story was simple, and yet that's exactly what it needed to be. It was a very human story, very, basic. I don't want to say relatable because I have no idea of hearing loss. As a kid, I used to have these things in your ears, tubes. You put these tubes in your ears, surgeries. I think I had that done 5 or 6 times. I've gone to loud concerts. I've never played in a loud band or anything. I've gone to loud concerts, and I still don't wear earplugs like a doofus. And I just think wow, you talk about ear damage, and you can imagine a guy who's playing instruments on stage right there in the thick of things. If you don't know, if you aren't aware, this is the story of a drummer who really all of a sudden, out of nowhere, starts developing hearing loss. But it is more than that, or he basically becomes deaf. I don't even know if deaf is you think, is that not the right way to say it? Do you say hearing impaired, or do you say deaf? I feel like they said the deaf community in this and how to learn to become deaf. Well, that's kind of what this is. You kind of go on this journey with this guy, Riz Ahmed, who's playing Ruben, as he deals with this giant sideswipe of a mental, physical, and health kind of crisis that he's going through. We learn I like how we learn things. It's not hey, I've been 4 years sober. They just kind of happens along the way where you learn that this guy is a former addict. He's been sober for 4 years. And that's around the time he met this girl that he's been dating and in love with. And at one point I thought maybe it was his wife because I thought she had a wedding ring on. Olivia Cooke, who plays Lou, who I first became aware of during Bates Motel. If you haven't watched Bates Motel, you're a dum-dum. That's all I'll say. I know what you're thinking. Oh, a prequel to Psycho. How stupid. Yes, a prequel to Psycho. How terrific. Now, go watch that now. I'll wait. Pause it. Hey, welcome back. How good was that? Wasn't she good in it? Yes, she was. And then she was in Ready Player One also. Those are and in this, I got to tell you, bleaching someone's eyebrows really throws you for a loop. It is more jarring than you could put piercings through your lip, through your face. I mean, piercing, just the eyebrows, because it almost blends into the point where it just looks like there aren't eyebrows. And it's whoa, what's going on here? But they're in a band together. They play loud, noisy punk rock, not something I would enjoy. Not something I would, turn on the radio to listen to. I do like loud music, but not like this kind of just loud, jarring. And it seems like they're a 2-person band, very reminiscent of the White Stripes, the drummer and the guitar player. Just turn up the bass of the guitar as much as you can. Just add a little, thickness to it. You can get by with just the guitar. And right away he just starts losing his hearing. But what I love about the choices that we get from the director, I'm assuming, is that we experience the world he's experiencing. So, or a lot of the time, not the entire time, but like it just becomes this muffled, mottled sound where you can kind of make out things, and it just gets gradually worse and worse and worse. And, you know, when he finally tells his girlfriend what's going on, she's like, you know, have you been, oh, he had a cigarette. That's what was the first trigger. She noticed he had a cigarette, which I guess, you know, he would never do while things were going good. Because right at the beginning, you see him playing, you know, this loud music. Then he goes back to his trailer, and my first thought is they're junkies right away. Just kind of like they're kind of messed up. But he gets up, he makes a nice egg breakfast. He makes these green, healthy smoothies, and he does these push-ups, and he's working out. And I'm like, oh, so he's a health nut, and he's going to be like, I'm a health nut, and yet this still happens to me. Kind of like it seems like he became a health nut, or he focused on that as part of his sobriety. And then she sees him having a cigarette, and she thinks, uh-oh, there's a bit of a trigger going on here. Calls this face we never see, Hector, which I assume is a sponsor, and they're on tour. They have this trailer that they live in, basically live out of, and they're like. They have a following. They're like a smaller band, but they have a following. There's plenty of those bands all over the world that, you know, you may not know them, but their fans know them, and they have plenty of fans. And that's what this seems like it is. You know, they're not rich, but they make enough to live off of, or enough to tour off of. You know, like to kind of continue their living. Even though later on we kind of find out that maybe she is rich, actually, or at least her daddy is. So they end up going to this like a farm, almost like a institute. I don't know what else to call it. A not a rehab, but it is kind of like it's like a halfway house. I don't know what to explain it. Like it is this place run by this guy named Joe, who's played by Paul Raci. Again, unreal. He is so good in this movie. And he's not hearing impaired. He is a son of two hearing impaired parents. So he grew up with, learning sign language. I think I was reading quickly about this, that he's not deaf, but his parents were. He was actually nominated for an actor for this movie. He won Best Supporting Actor at the AFCC, the Atlanta Film Critics Awards. Okay. He actually won for the Boston Online Film Critics Award. And I know some of this movie was filmed in Boston. I saw Bernie and Phil's furniture store, and that's a local place. So that was cool. So this guy, Paul Raci, who I don't know, I just don't know him before this. I hope this, you know, he's an older guy, but he's been in things like Goliath, which was, I think, an Amazon show. Baskets, which is a comedy. It's a comedy show. It's the one with Zach Galifianakis as a clown that I never watched. He's been in things, but this is the one. Oh, he's been in Parks and Rec. Great. But this is the one where he stands out to me. This is like, I don't know if you're going to say his big break. The guy's, you know, he's an older gentleman already. But this is the one that kind of got him recognized. And unbelievably, just very simple, very down to earth, but the guy showed so much emotion in his face at certain parts. So they go to his farm, and they're like, listen, we're a hearing impaired community. They have this place. They help addicts, and then they help out at this farm, and everyone has chores, and there's also a school, and that's where the fourth name I mentioned, Jennifer Ridloff, who, if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, you know her from that show. She played the deaf woman on that show. There were two deaf sisters, or at least one was definitely deaf, two, and I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but I don't know if she's around anymore, and I'll just say, but that's what I saw her. I go, I recognize her right away, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's really deaf in real life, or hearing impaired, whatever. And she plays the school teacher at the school there that they have, the school, this program, whatever it is. And the people that work at, at the or are attending the rehab also work at the school. They help out there as well. And he is very, he's not into this. He is like, he actually, before he did this, he went to the pharmacy. He just went to the pharmacy. This is how out of touch he is. He went to the pharmacy to try to figure out what he could do. And then he went to a doctor. The pharmacy's like, there's a doctor who can see you. He can see you right now. They go to this doctor and they do these preliminary tests where they put headphones on him. And I remember having these tests as a kid, but not, I think that was just like the basic test that they did to kids every year to make sure that you had hearing okay. Like when you're a kid, you went to like hearing and you looked at this through this thing for your sight. It wasn't like I had any hearing issues. Though I do tend to say, can you turn that up a little more? But anyway, my point is that he was getting these hearing tests and he was failing miserably. The guy was just saying words and he was repeating them. He was getting so many wrong, and the doctor says, listen, your hearing is like 25% over here, 26 over here. It's just going to get worse. And whether it's caused from your being a musician, or whether it's a genetic thing, that can't really be said, and he's like, yeah, but there's surgeries you can do, right? He's like, yes, there are surgeries that can be done. He's like, because those are very expensive. He's like, that's fine. But that's when he brought his girlfriend in, kind of let her know what's going on. Then they get to the rehab, and he's talking about, I got to be here for a while, but I want to get this surgery. He didn't want to go. She finally gives him an ultimatum. Look, I need you to go. She shows that she has some depression and like she doesn't want to live if he's not living right. You actually see her with all these cuts on her hands. You can see she's kind of a cutter or a scratcher. And she's like, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. I'll wait for you. And she leaves him and says, you need to go do this or if you don't do this, she was like, for my sanity, she was like threatening. I don't know if she threatened suicide. I'm not sure if she did that, but she's like, you need to do this, and leaves him. And then we just like that little scene where he stays and he's just like, we're in the parking lot with him. And he's kind of just like, he doesn't know what to do. He's like panicking. He's freaking out. I mean, unbelievable performance by him, which is why he was nominated for Best Actor. I mean, it makes sense. My goodness. This movie actually was nominated for, Best Picture, Best Actor, Riz Ahmed, Best Supporting Actor, Paul Raci, Best Original Screenplay. It was actually written by three guys, Derek Cianfrance, I don't know if I can say that right, and then two brothers, Darius and Abraham Martyr, who one of them is a musician, and there's a song at the end that I actually played for this episode, which was like really kind of haunting. And it talked about, I can't hear you. And I was like, this seems like it was written for this. It was written specifically for this by one of the screenwriters. And so I was very impressed by that. It did win for Best Sound, and it won for Best Film Editing, which, excellent. Considering it is a small movie, the fact that it won Best Achievement in Film Editing and Sound, it just shows that you don't have to have these crazy spaceship, amazing, cascade of sounds, where you can use the use of sound as a plot device, as a, almost not a, I wouldn't say a character, but as a, just kind of as a emotional anchor. I don't know what to say, but the use of sound and how it was used was pretty brilliant. And besides the performances, if the performances were meh, the sound was like, well, the sound was at least cool, but they had both. They had everything. So he goes back to stay at this place, and they set him up. It was interesting how they allowed. At one point, I thought, should I have subtitles on? But they didn't have subtitles at first because he didn't know sign language. So guess what? We don't know what they're signing, and we shouldn't know what they're signing because that's the point. He's very confused. He gets there early right away. Now, this guy, Paul Raci, he can talk because he lost his hearing in Vietnam. And he's been dealing with that all his life. And then he said, and I'm an alcoholic. And I lost everything. My wife, my kids, my job. And I didn't lose it because of the hearing. It was because of the beer or the drinking. I think he said the beer. And Now he runs this place. And he's talking to Riz Ahmed using dictation software that is reading, it's dictating on the screen so Riz Ahmed can read it and give, then he can talk back and he can read Riz Ahmed's lips. In truth, obviously, it's two hearing men, but it felt really like that's what was going on because he keeps looking at the screen and then answering him. Just really well done. This dictation software. When I was in college, I worked in a disability services computer lab. I helped kind of monitor, was there if people needed support, but I also kind of set up they had a thing called Dragon Dictate, which was like this crazy expensive software where you could put this headset on, talk to the computer, and it would type out what you're typing. And like, I remember it being really expensive software, really intricate, and you have to install it on a PC. It was really a pain in the butt. And then you think about now, like that every phone that you buy in the world can do that, no problem. Half my texts, I'm just talking into my phone and it's typing in, and it's just a free software. Like, that is amazing. Like, the ability of the leaps and bounds in accessibility that has come from just 25 years ago is incredible. And I can't imagine what it was like even then. I'm sure what I was working on was incredible, and the fact that now it's like second nature. But the way that software reminded me, give me a flashback of back in college. So he's kind of explaining the whole situation. You're going to be here. You need to, live. He's kind of being blunt with him, how you need to learn to live to be deaf. At one point, he's with these other people, and like everyone has a job, and Ruben's job is to learn how to live with being deaf. And we kind of, I don't know if that's right away. I believe me, I watched the movie in little chunks. I have to say, I watched half of it at lunch, and I watched the other half hiding from my dog, who was excited and wanted to play with me. And I said, no, I must watch a movie. Then I walked her, and then I'm back here. But while this is going on, at one point this is what happens. He's trying to pitch in. He's hammering a nail on a board, just trying to help out. And the guy Joe's like, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to fix things." He says, "Nothing needs fixing here. Don't worry about it." He goes, and then he gives him this task. "I'm going to put you in a room every day with a pen, a pad, and a paper. Have you ever just sat still?" And he's like, "I want you to sit still." Because he's always like, "I got to fix this. I got to fix this. I got to do this. I got to change this." And I don't know if that's the addict in him, or if it's just he's freaking out that he might lose the one thing he has, and that's his music, and he has with his girlfriend. It's all kind of connected. And he's like, "I'm going to put you in a room, and you need to learn to sit still. And there's a pad of paper there, a pen, and I want you to, when you can't sit still, I want you to write. And I want you to keep writing until you can sit still, and just be still. And no one's going to read it. It doesn't matter." He's like, "You have to write." He's like, "Yep, no drawing. You have to write." Because he's like he does tattoo art, and he gave a girl a tattoo at the place. And I was wondering if that was going to come back and be like, "You can't be doing that," but it never did, which I'm glad. So we see like a montage type of thing where at first he's like really angry with everything. The guy leaves him a donut. He's smashing the donut. He keeps putting it back together. Then he's smashing. Then he's putting it back together. Something about that was like he's trying to come to grips with it, with everything going on. And then sometimes you see him scribbling in the notepad, and then another day you see the donut's fine, completely fine. And while this happens, he also sneaks away sometimes to get to this computer where he can check his email. And he sees a picture from his girlfriend and saying, "I'm so proud of you. This is so great. I love you so much." Later on, he goes back and does it and kind of looks up his band, or it looks her up, and it looks like I think she was in Belgium, I want to say. And I could be wrong. Then I thought maybe France later, but I think they were in Belgium, even at the end. And she's kind of doing her own like electronic music stuff where she's got this little turntable like mixer, and she's singing in like the small club, and again, not my cup of tea, but I appreciate any sort of live performance. And people are like, this is so great. And he's almost like, oh my goodness. I thought at one point it was like, is she moving on? And is he going to smash all his equipment up? But instead, I think she felt like, I need to get back to her as soon as I can. I don't know if he thinks maybe I'm losing her. I need to get back to her as soon as I can. But before that happens, we see him starting to acclimate. He is learning sign language. Now, when he's signing, now we start seeing subtitles. Very smart choice, because now he can understand it. We can understand it because we're seeing everything through him. Everything's through him. So he's bonding with he actually was in he was in a room. I think this was before the montage. He was in a room where there was someone doing some dancing, and a kid couldn't sit still. He's like, I'll take the kid outside. And they're sitting on a slide, and they start banging the slide, and like they're feeling the vibrations of it. So, and he's a drummer, so he starts banging and beating. The kid just has his ear against it, just listening and kind of enjoying it. And they made a little bit of a connection. And then we see them kind of hanging out and having fun during this montage. Now he knows signing. He's doing like little drum classes with them using buckets and drumsticks, so they can kind of hit it and just feel it. And he's like, at one point they're all leaning on a piano so they can feel the piano. He's hanging outside, having fun, just running around with the kids. Like, you see him starting to bond, starting to adjust. And at one point, Joe comes to him and says, you really make a nice connection here. You need to start thinking about the future. And I think you'd have a great, you'd do great here. You could do great things here, working with the kids, working with the people, helping around. I'd like to offer that to you. And he was like, oh, that's great. That's great. But he's like, thank you. But he couldn't, deal with that. He went, then we see him, I think, if I'm getting it wrong, I'm sorry, but we see him kind of like, I don't know if it's then maybe he checks on the girlfriend and sees like, oh my God, I need to get to her. And he starts, he goes back to his trailer, which is parked a little further away, sets up the drums, plays the hell out of them, and then sells everything. The drums, his mixing board, all the equipment they have. Then he sells the trailer, and this guy offers $26,000 for him. Now, apparently everything he sold was enough to get to the 50. They said 40 to 50,000. It might be for the surgery, because he sold everything, and he tells this guy, "Look, $26,000. Okay, here's the deal. I'll sell it to you for $26,000 if, in 8 weeks' time, I can come back within 8 weeks and buy it back from you. If you can't change anything, I'll buy it back from you with a 10% increase." Meaning, like, he thinks he's going to. This is what his goal is. He's going to sell everything, pay for the cochlear implant he wants to get, bring his hearing back, is what he believes. And then he's going to go to his girlfriend, who's got a rich dad, and be like, we need to buy everything back, because that's kind of where we were going with that. And then he can buy everything back, they can go back on tour, and they can start paying back the dad. We see him make an appointment. He uses the teletype phone where he can talk, and then he can read what they're saying coming back to them. He's made an appointment with this doctor. He goes to there, and boom, we see him have the surgery. He gets the surgery. She's like, all right, now for this next 4 weeks, it's going to be silence. You're not going to hear anything. And you're going to be getting your, come back, get your activation. He goes back to the place, and he meets Joe, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, I want to thank you, but I went and did the deed. He's like, what do you mean did the deed? He's like, I got the surgery. He picks up his head and shows the scars and I think there's still stitches in his head. And then Joe's like, listen, I need to tell you something. We live in a community where being deaf is not a problem that needs to be fixed. This is something they live with. It's not something that's wrong with them. And I need them to feel that way. I need these kids to feel that way. Killer speech, killer like emotion. And that he's saying this, signing this, and like Ruben, is just reading his lips and is signing. But he knows it. He can get it all at this point. And he's like, I can't have you here with this. I need you to pack your bags today, and you need to find another place to stay. And he's like, okay, Okay. Like you could see he's panicking. Oh, what Joe said to him is you sound like you're being an addict right now, because he's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Boom, 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 boom. Like a manic kind of like, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to take care of this, and this is going to fix this, and this is going to fix. Like he's addicted to getting his hearing back. He's addicted to getting back on the road and doing music and getting back with his girlfriend. And he just jumps at it, the chance, without even thinking. And he had enough money. He had to leave, and then he's at a cheap little motel for a few weeks. Then he goes in and gets his fix. And we've been living with him now muffled. We've been living with him getting complete silence. Now we live with him getting these cochlear implants, which the doctor says, and I had to put the subtitles on for that because I was like, wait, what is she saying? That, the noise, what you're experiencing is tricking your brain into thinking you're hearing it. I don't know if it's vibration. I don't know how it works, even though your ears still do not work. And it was a very very tinny, like terrible, the worst AM radio you'd ever heard, or a tin can kind of thing. Like real electronic-y, like real, I don't know what to say, like fuzzy, like and like, like, but she made some adjustments, and you could see it on his face, like he was expecting it to be like almost perfect, and it wasn't. It was like, now he's walking around with like static, like, and he hears everything. Everything's like, and it's like, whoa, this is almost like, it felt like sensory overload. And it must have been for him. Like the first time, it was like, whoa, because it's been so long since he's heard anything. He heard his own voice. He was like, whoa, whoa. But hearing other people was a lot harder. And but he went through with it. And he goes, then we see on a plane takeoff, and he goes to, I think it was Belgium, to see her. She's staying with her dad. So he goes to the dad's house, and he's spent some time with the dad. And we kind of get a little story about her. We learn a little bit about her through the dad, where he's like, he goes, does she know you're coming? He's a Frenchman. And he's like, no, I don't. He's like, you have your hearing back? He goes, yeah. Like he's almost thinking like, I'll get through this. I'll figure it out. It'll adjust, but I'll figure it out. He's like, yes, I had the surgery done. He's like, oh, that's great. He says, so are you ready to like go back? He's like, yeah, there's a few things I got to figure out. And that's basically hoping to get this guy to give them money so he can buy the trailer back. That's what it comes down to, is he can take his girlfriend, get his life back, and get the hell out of here and go back to the road. So they have this little conversation where he's like, when I first met you, he goes, how long have you been sober? He goes, 4 years. He goes, that's great. He goes, how long have you been dating my girlfriend? 4 years. He goes, that's great. He goes, I have to tell you, I did not like you when I first met you, but that wasn't fair. And, you didn't take my daughter away from me. Her mother did. Her mother took her away from me twice. When she took her, I think maybe took her to America, I'm guessing. And then when she killed herself, I'm like, oh, so I'm thinking like this girl's had a rough go of it. But she found happiness with you. And for that, I'm grateful. I went from not liking you to thanking you for being there. He's like, oh, okay. Like the dad was pretty straightforward. And he goes, now we're having a party tonight. He actually made him some food. He was pretty cordial for this guy to show up at his door. He says, we're having a party tonight, so she will be back here for the party. He goes, so, he let him stay in the room, wait for her to come home. She pops home, and she looks completely different. She's got like this jumpsuit on, her hair's cut a little shorter. It looks like it's her natural color now. Her eyebrows are back to the natural color. She just looked a little healthier. And he's like, oh my God, you look so different. Oh, you're not scratching anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. So she's kind of been well adjusted without him. And, she's looking at his head thing, and, looking at the cochlear implants. She's like, wow. He's like, yeah, it's going to take some adjustment. And, they kiss and they hug, and then, she's like, I got to go do some things. He's like, all right. I got to go to the party. So she goes off to the party. He goes out to the party, and it's just, again, sensory overload. Every noise, everything is just like exacerbated. I don't know if that's the right word. And he is like, just kind of walking through, like all these people are like fancy and he's just kind of there in a t-shirt smoking a cigarette. But I thought they would be like, what are you doing out here? But they weren't like that at all. They smiled and said hi. He kind of said hello. He met a few people and then he just went and stood off by himself. And then there's a sweet little moment where the father and the daughter sing a song together. And she sings it in French. I think she's British in real life. And Riz Ahmed's British too, which I'm like, what? After you hear the way he talks in Nightcrawler and the way he talks in this, I'm like, this guy's British? Ridiculous. Again, another great just little thing about him. Cheryl, where was I? They sing this little song, and then we hear it through how he hears it, and it's like he can kind of pick up a little bit, and then everyone's clapping. Even that, it's all like tinny and very, very jarring. And then later on, he's like, you sounded great. She's like, I don't know. I guess it was a song that he wrote for her or he wrote for her mother. And, he's like, I can't wait to get back on the road, to get touring. And I got to just figure out things get the tour bus squared away. Oh, the trailer. He's like, what do you mean? The trailer? He's like, no, it's just something, like he hasn't even brought it up yet. Hasn't got to that yet. And they start kissing. And then she's like, oh, sorry, I just got dry mouth. And that was clue number one. And then he's like, they go to kiss again and she starts scratching her arm and he just looks at her. And it's at this moment where he realizes that she is doing better without him. She's adjusted. And for her health and sanity and for her benefits, they can't go through with this. They just can't. And he's like, it's okay. He's like, what are you talking about? He goes, it's okay. And then they make this connection. She understands what he means. And they just kind of have a cry where they're holding each other and crying, realizing that it's not going to be what they want it to be, which was sad. It was actually, there's a lot of sadness in this movie, but there's hope, there's joy, there's sadness. He bails. He's like, goodbye. He just doesn't want to, bother her anymore. He leaves really early in the morning and goes and just sits on a bench. And it's like all these people, these kids on skateboards, everything is click, clack, noise, this giant bell chime, bing, bing, bing. He is like, enough of this. Takes the implants off, complete silence. And for a few minutes, it's just his face, like real, and he's looking around and we see the clock tower, nothing. And it's at this moment where he is just still. Exactly what Joe wanted for him the whole time. He just stands there and he stays still. He sits in that moment and he just doesn't do a thing. And just kind of like, that's what I got out of that. And boom, that's the end of the movie. And then this song plays, Green, and I was like, oh, it was just a haunting type cool song. That's why I chose it for this episode. And that's the Sound of Metal. My hope is that he goes back and he says, listen, I didn't know what I wanted. I don't, I thought this would make things better. It didn't. Take me back. That's my hope. So in Sound of Metal 2, he's back working on the farm. That's my hope. Obviously, there's no sequel. There's nothing. But that's, I always kind of project, well, what happens next? What happens now? And that's what I hope happens. He just goes home and says, whatever money he has left, if he has any money left, use it to get home and get back to the farm and be like, you know what? I want to be here. I want to do this. This makes me happy. Because he did have moments of just happiness where he's laughing and hanging out with the kids and just like playing with them and teaching them and playing drums with them. And it was just like that. You could see there was happiness there. And I'm trying to think, like, the Sound of Metal. Is that because he played metal? Because it wasn't quite metal. I mean, it was kind of a metalish drumming type thing, but it was definitely loud rock and roll. Was it the Sound of Metal, the tinniness of it, of the implants? Or is it just kind of, like just a great term? You know what I mean? Just a great turn of phrase. What a movie. What a movie. I think I touched on everything. Again, Riz Ahmed. I said the first time I noticed him was Rogue One, the Star Wars movie. And now he has now someone where I'm like, oh, he's in this movie? Wasn't he in The Night of too? I mentioned that, I think, during the Nightcrawler episode. But now he's at that level where I say, oh, he's in this movie. I want to watch it because of him. You know, it's not now where it's like, oh, he was good in this movie. I didn't even know he was in it. Or he was good in this movie. I wasn't expecting it. Now he's become one of these actors where I'm like, oh, I want to watch this specifically because this dude's in it. Which is a great thing. And with that, my friends, I think we nailed it. My goodness, 28 days. The final Monday, we did it. We're down to the last 2 days, and I can't wait to bring you those final movies. I'm really excited about my movie choice for the next 2 days. It's a long time coming. That's all I'll say. And with that, I'll just want to leave you with some parting words. Thank you guys for listening and subscribing. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd at Geek Mentality. The website is fansnotexperts.com. The Facebook page is simply Fans Not Experts. And you can always find me, if you're ever at a rail trail in Massachusetts, there's a good chance I'll be there too. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm rambling now. It's 9 o'clock and I forgot to have dinner, so I need to go have that now. Boom, bada boom. I'll see you tomorrow. And until then, Sound of Metal was excellent. Until tomorrow, my friends, here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.